Hey, yo, what's good, y'all? Welcome back to Coded Black, Season 3. Man, today we got a highly esteemed guest, author, creative, activist, visionary, revolutionary. We got the good brother James, man. What's going on, man?
Hell of an intro, bro.
Welcome to Coded Black, bro.
Appreciate you, man. I appreciate that intro, man.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
A lot.
No problem, bro. Nah, man. So let's jump right into it, bro. Like, the people want to know. I'm a part of the people, too. Who is James? And what do you represent?
I'm a father first. You know what I'm saying? If I was to identify myself, I would identify myself as a dad at first. And then I would say I've also been tasked with what I believe to be a thankless task of trying to usher my people into the future the right way. You feel me? So, but yeah, and then everything that's in between that, man. But I can go all day, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, I'm a daddy. I'm a lover of all things Africa.
Yes,
lover
sir.
of my people, you know what I mean? I'm a son, I'm a student, I'm a brother, nephew, all of that, you know what I mean?
All the above.
Yeah, I'm a vessel.
As I've mentioned, the people heard me say author. So let's jump on that first, man.
Yeah.
What really influenced you to start writing children's books?
Yeah, well, I appreciate you for having my setup here, you know what I mean?
No problem.
And I started, what made me want to write them, I'll go back. I always knew how to write.
Mm.
You feel me? I always knew how to write. And I had my first writing experience for real in 5th grade.
Mm.
And I'm from Nashville, Tennessee. And so back then, this was probably like 98. It was a big tornado that came through and ravaged the city. You know what I'm saying? And so like we had to stay at school like until the nighttime. I remember that's how bad it was. And then maybe a few weeks later, we had this writing assignment, and we had to write a poem. And so I wrote a poem about the tornado. You know what I'm saying? And everything, you know, my experience, how I saw it, how it affected, you know, me and my family. And so it was so good that the school put it in a school-wide publication. You feel me? So I was in 5th grade. That was the lowest grade in my middle school. So I was in a publication with 6th, 7th, and 8th graders. You know what I'm saying? And so that was my first writing experience. But anyway, later on in life, once I became an adult, I went to Tennessee State University, which also in Nashville, best HBCU.
That's what's up, man.
I went to TSU and I took a few African studies courses, and one of my teachers, he introduced me to Marcus Garvey, his works, you know what I'm saying? And as we learned about Mr. Garvey, I thought he was made up, you know what I mean? Because I'm like, I didn't learn about this in school. And how could you keep a man who was that pivotal, that revering, who accomplished so much? How could you keep that from children? So I never lost that, and I always kind of looked into Mr. Garvey. Then, of course, I always watched Farrakhan. I watched a little old malcolmx here and there. And so once I became a father, I was looking for some books on Marcus Garvey for my children, and I couldn't find any. And so something in my brain was like, man, you know how to write? You know, go on and write a little something, you know. You make that your own little undertaking, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And so I decided to write a book, and things took off from there. And the response that I got from not only just the kids, but the teachers and the parents was very validating and very gratifying, and letting me know, kind of affirmed, hey, you got something here, you got a gift, you know what I'm saying? And you know, it's a gift that your people can benefit from. So that's what really made me become an author, trying to fulfill the needs, the literary mental needs of my children. And now as I see it, all black children.
Man, respect, bro, respect.
Appreciate that, man.
Man, so as you all can see, we have 2 of the books written by Brother James here. And now, being that we're on the topic of talking about Marcus Garvey, man, like, First of all, Marcus Garvey, like the brother James said, Marcus Garvey in himself is a legend, somebody that should be remembered, honored, revered, all the above, bro. But y'all check out the way he honors Marcus Garvey, man. Y'all check out like some. I don't know if you want me to show.
Nah, man, you show it all, bro.
Man, y'all just check out some of the illustration in here, man. Like, bro, if you mind putting it in that camera, bro, just so they can see some of the illustration, man.
This
like, yeah,
yeah, man. Yeah, I gotta give a big shout out to my boy Cameron Wilson. He actually illustrated the book, and a lot of people ask if me and him are related, and we actually not. I found him.
I found that too.
Yeah, I found him on Instagram, and you know, he helped me bring he helped bring an artistic component to my words. You know what I'm saying? And he helped bring the book to life. So shout out to Cam.
Big facts, bro. So, bro, you did write a book about Malcolm, right?
Yeah.
Is there a connection between the Honorable Malcolm X and the Honorable Marcus Garvey? What's the connection between them?
Yeah, man. Well, first let me start off. It's a big connection with me because Malcolm X was my first introduction to, I guess, what most people would consider consciousness. When I was in kindergarten, that was back in '92. My mama, she came and got me out of school and took me to go see the movie Malcolm X. I was only 5 years old at the time, but I knew this had to be important for her to come get me out of school.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So she came and got me and took me to the movies, and we went to go see the movie. I mean, it was packed. It was the middle of the day. And I never forgot how riveting that experience was. And so as I went on through life, what mama did was she set a precedent for black male figures in my life. You know what I'm saying? That was my first introduction to a strong black man who spoke from a point of intelligence, of confidence, of proudness, you know, being black and championing being black. So that was his impact on me at that age going through life. Then when I learned about Mr. Garvey, I experienced that same euphoric feeling again. Like, what? You know what I'm saying? Like, this man brought together black people all around the world, reattaching us to Africa, showing us we need our own this, and that, funding the building and financing the ships to take us back there and to trade, all this stuff. So that was my own personal connection. But in reading about both of them, Marcus Garvey and Malcolm X had a lot of connections. Malcolm X grew up in a Garvey household. You know what I'm saying? His mother and fathers were both pivotal figures within the UNIA, the Universal Negro Improvement Association. And so Malcolm grew up with that Garvey, in that Garvey setting, under that Garvey tutelage. You feel me? And so that was that. Then as Malcolm sojourned on his journey, when he comes under Elijah Muhammad, that was another Garveyite. You know what I'm saying? Before the Honorable Elijah Muhammad became Elijah Muhammad, he was Elijah Poole, and he was a figure in the UNIA back in Detroit in the 20s. You know what I'm saying? And much of the Nation of Islam is modeled after the UNIA. So for Malcolm X to go into the Nation of Islam and grow the Nation of Islam, he was essentially growing more of a religious sect of the Garvey movement. Then after Malcolm leaves the Nation of Islam and, you know, he goes throughout the world, even into Africa twice, that Garvey vision guides him again. You know what I'm saying? He's realizing, oh, our only hope is the unification of black people all around the world. You know what I'm saying? There can't be, what's the saying? One person can't rise above the conditions of their people. And Malcolm understood that. And so he took that Garvey approach later on in his life before he met his demise. But there are very, very significant connections between Brother Malcolm and the Honorable Marcus Garvey. Those are just a few. But, you know, when you really read into Malcolm, read on Garvey, you see that's kind of where Malcolm was headed, you know. Not kind of, that's where he was headed.
I want to segue out there, bro. The way you explained that was brilliant. For me, I think it's like with their relationship between Malcolm and Marcus Garvey, him being brought up in that type of household, I think that shows a very realistic example of how much we need that provision from our parents. You know, did our generation and generations behind, and generations to come. You know, I think that that's very important. So when people say, "Oh, that stuff don't matter," or no, it does matter, because that's a prime example of when you got some each one teach one. That's a prime example of that, bro. You know what I'm saying? So I think that that's beautiful, bro, that you connected both of them in these books as well, bro.
It's the only book on Malcolm, especially a children's book. That's one of the few books on Malcolm where you're gonna see those connections highlighted in that way. And they're significant because what it shows is these are two giants. You know what I'm saying? They were mental giants, intellectual giants. These two men understood African fundamentalism, and they understood that the plight of African people around the world, black people around the world, could never be truly addressed until there's a base connection of us all, or at least those of us from different parts of the world who have that same mindset and agenda. They understood that. So it's important when we're talking about Malcolm X, who of course came much later after Garvey, but it's important that when we talking to our people about Malcolm, especially our children, that we giving it to them the right way. Like I'm saying, and not just to toot my own horn, but not to at the same time. That's the base book you got to have for your kids on Malcolm X. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You have to have that book on Malcolm. You have to have that book on Garvey, because it has to be told from a race-first, African-centered perspective for you to get the meat and bones when it comes to those two. Otherwise, getting the white man's version of it.
Man, yo, that's a good point, bro. So, bro, what are 3 characteristics of Malcolm X that you think somebody can model themselves after when it becomes to grow and to become a man?
Because we are different, we're going to interpret Malcolm in different ways, and our characteristics, what we feel are important, are going to vary person to person. But I think one thing that everybody should hone in on, this is how you know you really understand Malcolm and you can really appreciate Malcolm. Malcolm's discipline. Malcolm may be the epitome of discipline. Malcolm, I heard Dr. Umar one time describe the word discipline. He was saying, doing what you don't feel like doing when you don't want to do it. And Malcolm, he literally transformed his entire life and transformed this world, well, the black world, in many ways by him disciplining himself. Malcolm was disciplined when it came to his mindset, his mentality. Malcolm transformed himself from a hustler, a pimp, a burglar, all the different things he was doing in the streets. And he transformed himself into a man rooted in principle and morality and vision and intelligence. He could only do that by being disciplined. Black boys, black children, but especially black boys, have to be taught that aspect of Malcolm. You could do an entire course on just the discipline of Malcolm X. You see what I'm saying? All black boys have to understand that, because what Malcolm did was very unique. And black children in America and around the world are living under the most unique set of circumstances. See what I'm saying? So discipline. I think that's the most important and my favorite trait of Malcolm X. Self-love. Malcolm ate once a day. He learned that in the Nation of Islam. Now, he left the Nation of Islam, but he still maintained that practice throughout his life because he understood for him to be able to be the beacon of knowledge, information, and vision for Black people, he had to take care of his body. You know what I'm saying? So he maintained that discipline with his health, discipline with his mind. Well, I said discipline, that was the first one. But that's self-love. That's a form of self-love. That discipline transcended to self-love, which is my second favorite characteristic. And my third characteristic that I say that is important to understand about Malcolm is confidence. It's a lot of our boys, a lot of our children in general, but I'll stick with the boys. A lot of these boys grow up with a lack of self-confidence that isn't their fault. A lot of times it's due to their father not being in the picture. They're growing up in a social setting that feeds on the inferiority of the Black boy and his mentality. And so what the Black boy will in turn do is grow up and seek to express a false sense of confidence in other ways. You see what I'm saying? They'll become hyper-violent. They'll become hyper-masculine. These are ways to mask the fact that they really have low self-confidence. But when you take a man like Malcolm and look at his self-confidence, really examine it, you see that Malcolm was able to relate to his surroundings no matter where he was.
That's true, bro.
That his confidence aided in him being able to do that. And when Black boys are able to see that they not defined by their social setting or their household or whatever it may be, when they're able to see an example like him, that'll help aid in them affirming their identity and affirming their pursuit of betterment of themselves and mastery of the world as they go through life. So those would be my three favorite traits of or characteristics of Brother Minister Malcolm X.
Bro, I think you put that perfectly, man.
Yeah.
Said discipline, self-love, and confidence. Bro, I think and if you read that book, there was a book that his daughter wrote, Ilyasah Shabazz. Excuse me, Queen, if I'm messing up your name. But she wrote a book. It's called, I got it in here. I can't see it right now. But she wrote a book, bro, and it details some other things about Malcolm, bro. And like you said, the confidence, if you read that book, she talks about how, well, she's talking from Malcolm X's point of view. It's like a bunch of his writings. And so he talks about that, bro. He said, you know, how he knew he couldn't fight, but he knew what he was good at. He identified what he was good at a young age. You know what I'm saying? But I just distinctly remember reading that in the book.
I took that from, that's funny you mentioned that. In my book, I talked about how he tried boxing.
Yeah.
And I got that from her book.
Oh, okay, that's beautiful, bro.
Yeah, Malcolm tried that with boxing. But see, that's another thing. Because he had that understanding of himself and he was comfortable with himself, that's what aided in his confidence again. So yeah, shout out to her for that book. That's a serious undertaking to write about a man like that, let alone her dad. You know what I'm saying? So,
bro, yeah, man. That's people don't understand the magnitude. Like, and it's like I tell people, man, we have heroes.
Yeah.
You a hero. Anybody that comes on the Code of Black show, I consider them a hero of the community because you all are going against the grain, but not even that. Even above all that, you all are showing love for your people and you doing the work. You know what I'm saying? Like you be in the schools. I seen you on Instagram in the schools and stuff like that, taking pictures with the kids, and they happy to hold up the book. That's the most enthusiastic I see kids in a long time, bro.
Yeah.
You know, so that brings me to my next question, man. I kind of want to segue into that. How did you start that process of like getting into the schools, if you can share that? There may be other authors or something that may want to do the same thing.
Yeah. So I had when I came out with the Garvey book, I reached out to the head of the school librarians in DeKalb County. And because I didn't know where to go, I just knew I had a vision. I knew I want my books in front of my children. You know what I'm saying? So I reached out to her because you know DeKalb, one of the blackest counties in or around Atlanta. So what she did was she sent me an email list with all the librarians, and she was saying, reach out to them. You know, this is like your database. Reach out to them. So I reached out to a bunch of them. And this one lady, her name was Cheryl Miller Holmes. I forget the name of this. I think it's an elementary school in DeKalb. But she reached out to me, and that was my first invitation to come into a school. And I did so well. She put me on to her colleagues. I started getting invited to more schools. Then I also was doing my due diligence and trying to reach other schools outside of DeKalb in Atlanta, Clayton County, back home where I'm from in Nashville. And so that was kind of how I started getting into the schools. But I shout out to those librarians because those are a few of the people that we have left who really value literature.
Yeah,
and they don't have
thought about that.
And they don't have a financial motivation behind it. You know what I'm saying? They're not trying to make anything off of me. Their sole goal is to enrich the literary experience of the students in their school. You know what I'm saying? So we have to always make sure that we pay homage to our teachers, especially like our librarians in these schools, because they are the reason that I even know that I'm even aware that I can go into these schools like that. So they should always be celebrated and heralded.
Big facts, big facts. So what I'm hearing is you basically went through the library. You went through the library. You kind of went through that route, and then you reached out to them. Then they got back to you.
Yeah, I started off like I said. That lady, she turned me on to them by giving me that list. Yeah. But then I would go and I want to go and meet them first. Right. And then when they see the book, because they're like, "This is nice." Who published it? And I'm like, "I published it." They're like, "Really?" And so they become excited around that. And then most of these teachers and librarians, they women. You know what I'm saying? So they see a black man come in there and like, I'm not little or nothing. I'm coming in there and I got a deep voice and I'm talking to them like that. They excited because they want to put that type of man in front of these kids to show them, hey, what you just say, heroes. This is somebody that you can look at modeling yourself after too. Not to my own horn, but like when I do go to the schools and I'm talking to the kids, first we start out dialogue. And I ask them, y'all know who, I start naming the rappers. I say, y'all know who Lil Baby is? They go crazy. I say, you know who Lil Durk is? And Young Boy. And they know all of them. And I say, well, all right, who knows who Marcus Garvey is? They don't know who that is. They don't know who Malcolm is. So that's where it becomes my job. Hey, these are heroes too. You know what I'm saying? Lil Durk right now sitting in federal penitentiary. Right. You see what I'm saying? But they know him and they'll model themselves after that. They don't know any better. But that's who's put in front of them. I take it upon myself to put Garvey in front of them, put Malcolm in front of them, put Sojourner Truth, and Queen Nzinga, Harriet Tubman, Queen Nefertiti, Hannibal, all these people. Right. These are the people you have to model yourselves after. It's okay to look to them as well. Whoever's put in front of you, you're gonna internalize it. But we have to make sure, we have to understand it's our duty to put these people in front of them as well. Yeah, because that provides that balance. It definitely provides a balance. At least gives them an option to be like, I want to go this way or that way. Right. Not just thinking that, I just got to go this way. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? So that's, what y'all don't understand is that's revolutionary work that you're doing. You changing the narrative. You know what I'm saying? You ain't just talking on Instagram about it, which is cool, for wise counsel or whatever, but you putting action behind it. Yeah. Like I be seeing you, I be scrolling on Instagram and I see you. I say, oh man, look at my guy. Yeah. Taking pictures with the kids and stuff, you got to, man. You got to. That's dope, bro. That's what makes it worthwhile, to see them and talk to them. And then once they hear it, it's like, they're like, dang. And then you can make it, you fashion it so that they can see it from their level. Big fact. Imagine 1 million black children knowing who Marcus Garvey is. You know what I'm saying? Come on, man. Imagine that. Now, see, you got the Smile. What's that shirt saying? Oh, yeah. Smile Africa International Book Club. This is the book club I've started. This is just another undertaking of mine to kind of facilitate and incubate our children receiving that type of information about African history and culture. It'll be my books in the book club. That'll be some of their readings. But it's a lot of other powerful black authors, children's authors, who are doing the work, making sure that information is accessible to black children about where we come from and where we must go. So there are not a lot of spaces that provide Black children that type of environment to, to digest that type of information. So, again, I went on task myself with, taking this on, making sure our children have this, and, trying to paint a brighter future for them. You know what I'm saying?
That's beautiful, bro. That's beautiful, bro. Man, so you already been writing books. You already been going to the schools. Mm-hmm. Now you done started a book club.
Yeah. They gotta have that. I look at it like, like with sports. Mm-hmm. Dr. Amos Wilson said, we'll see the dad is up all night with the boy, showing him how to dribble the ball, shooting all night. But you're not doing that with the books, with the literature, with the math, with the English, with the science. You know what I'm saying? So right now, basketball, when it comes to the little league, to the kids, football season is about to be over. Basketball season is about to pick up. You're gonna see all the AAU squads and all that kind of stuff. All these different mechanisms that are made available to the boys to further their athleticism in their sport. But what mechanism do you have to further their intellect in their own history and culture and story? You don't have a lot. You see what I'm saying? So this is kind of like the AAU of Black history for our kids, the AAU for Black culture and, rooted in literacy for our children. You know what I'm saying? I'm taking that type of approach. We have to have specialized means to cultivate them when it comes to cultivate their mentality when it comes to Black history and culture.
While we're on the topics of books specifically, how does your writing process, book creation process, how does that work for you? I'm always curious about that because this is some brilliant work. Bro.
Yeah, I appreciate that, man. For real, I really appreciate that. As an artist, what everybody do say, we sensitive about our ish. You know what I'm saying?
Good, yep.
But my creative process, it starts with, I kind of let my inspiration guide me there. You know what I'm saying? It's a number of topics I want to write on, and it's a number of topics I would like to see other people write on and me publish their works. You know what I'm saying? But for me, it starts with, like I said, that story where I wrote about the poem, when I wrote the poem back in the day. I'm naturally poetic. You know what I'm saying? I really enjoy writing in ways that convene a message in I wouldn't say a non-traditional approach, but in a more, flowing type of, there you go, rhythmic type of way. That's right. So that's kind of my writing process. I just start jotting down a few things. Like right now, it's funny. We have a puppy, and his name is Spud. And so he's writing a book called My Bud Spud. It's copyrighted for anybody listening. I want about to take my idea. But
they'll do it quick.
Yeah, man. Bro. But I'm writing one on him, and I just write down little stuff that I go through with him, and that I see the kids go through with him, and I just take it from there. I don't have a set approach. The approach that I would highlight, and for anybody who's watching that wants to write or is curious about that, is to write. You know what I'm saying? Even if it's just an idea. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna tell you something, bro. Teach me about Garvey. And I told you how I learned about Garvey, and I wanted to find a book. I couldn't find one on him. It actually started out as a clothing line. Before I wrote the book, I had a clothing line. I still have it. I just got to do more. It's called Birthright. And I was doing
that's the hoodie you gave.
Yeah, that's what that is. And I got to get some more gear. But what I did was I made I printed up a bunch of kids' shirts, and it had that caption, just teach me about Garvey on it. You know what I'm saying? I had no book or nothing. I wasn't even thinking about going that route. And then one night I was at work, and I was looking for those books, and I'm like, dang, and I just thought about that slogan, teach me about Garvey. I'm like, I'm gonna just write starting from that. And that was just something I just jotted down and made a slogan out of. Then it morphed into a book. So I have a very unorthodox writing process. It's just I start off with whatever is dinging on my brain at the time. I jot it down, and then God take the rest from me.
Bro, So that's very African of you, bro. Because we are going, we to go with the flow type.
Yeah.
Like we be like, I did this, I did that, and it just.
But that's not to knock an orthodox approach.
Yeah.
Because some people do require organization. You feel me? And that's beautiful too. You know what I'm saying? That's my process. True. And sometimes I seek to, like right now, it's another book I'm writing. I ain't gonna get too much into it, but I'm writing a horror. Okay. With this one, I do want to be a little bit more orchestrated because I do need to do me a storyboard and all that. And they teach, that's a way to do it too. And you probably should do it that way, but I definitely am going to utilize that approach because I want to make sure that I'm getting out what I want to get out and to try to make it scary. You know what I'm saying? So I do need a more orthodox, organized approach to it. But yeah.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So no diss to nobody out there that does it the orthodox way. Yeah. No diss.
Yeah. That's probably a better way.
For the people out there, like for other authors and other creatives, and just our people out there, period, it's just their everyday life. If you get an inkling, if you get an intuition, and that gut feeling is just like, you know what, maybe I should do this. Go on and listen to it because sometimes we delay our progress and our purpose in life by not listening to that. I've seen you with a number of students holding your books. Mm-hmm. Bro, how many schools have you been to?
I can't tell you, man. I don't know. At this point, I've probably been about 30, 40. Damn. And that really ain't a lot. You know what I'm saying? Because, we all over the country and in the world. I was blessed to be able to attend a few schools in Africa when I went over there.
Nice.
Year before last year. I was blessed to go to some.
Oh yeah, you went to Ghana, right?
No, I went to Tanzania.
Tanzania, bro, that's crazy.
Tanzania.
And then I went to Kenya this year, right?
Yeah,
like right by
they right by each other. Yeah, did you go to Tanzania? You didn't go. Yeah, you gotta.
My homie was telling me I should go though.
Yeah, man, we've been on Mount Kilimanjaro and everything. But yeah, so I was able to go to some schools there. But like here in America, like I'm guessing somewhere between 30 and 40. And I always like to try to capture them moments with them in these books. You know what I'm saying? Not just because they my books, but just like when you catching your little boy or little girl holding that basketball or holding up something, like you want to capture. You gotta capture these moments with them in literature. Right. You know what I'm saying? Because this is information, and this may inspire them to want to. Develop information and put it out there to the world. So I always try to capture the moments because it means something to me as well. My grandmother, who's passed, who's the reason that I am who I am today, she told me one time when she saw my Garvey book, she was able to see my Garvey book before she transitioned. Nice. Yeah. She told me, she said, "You've done something now that nobody can ever take away." She said, "This will be here after you go." You know what I'm saying? So that kind of, I always hear that in my head when I see them reading it, like they looking at something I made. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So I always try to capture those moments, and they have a real good reaction to the books. You'd be amazed how invigorating it is to see our children come into knowledge. You know what I'm saying? Something new.
Let's piggyback to the Malcolm X book.
Yeah.
Now I see that you didn't mention when you went back to Mecca and kind of like the Islam portion of his life. You didn't really highlight that much in the book. Is there a particular reason why?
Yeah, I in the back I have like important dates, so I do I touch on when he goes, but I didn't make I didn't make a big thing about it because what I wanted readers to pick up on was that his trips overseas were much bigger than his visit to Mecca, his pilgrimage to Mecca.
You know what? They do highlight just Mecca.
They always talk about Mecca and Malcolm's transformation after Mecca. But see, Malcolm went to Africa twice. He went while he was still in the Nation of Islam. Yeah. Elijah Muhammad sent Malcolm and a few of the other brothers over to Africa in 57. Then 7 years later, after Malcolm departs the Nation of Islam, he goes back to Mecca. But after he leaves Mecca, he goes back to Africa again. And that is where he's not given, not a lot of credit is given to those Africa trips. But see, those Africa trips inspired a lot in Malcolm to develop that OAAU. That's when he goes back to his Garveyite upbringing, those Pan-African, that type of Pan-African approach to unity and approach to solving problems. You know what I'm saying? It's those visits to Africa that does that. After Malcolm comes back from Africa, that's when Malcolm says, listen, I'm willing to forget the differences that I've had with other Negro leaders, and I want them to forget the differences that they've had with me. Mecca didn't do that. Not downplaying Islam, but Mecca was,
you just mentioned it.
Mecca was more of a spiritual conviction of his on a more of a personal level, but it was his trips to Africa that made him a better organizer. He sought to develop a more global approach to organization. So when he comes back and he's letting bygones be bygones with Martin Luther King and these other leaders, that's because when he went to Africa and South, he realized if we gonna unite, I gotta put my issues to bed here with my brothers here in America, no matter what their philosophy is. Because at the end of the day, we're working towards the same goal. And our goal is African redemption. You see what I'm saying? So, and that happened, and I really feel and reading, you can tell that was ignited by his trips to Africa. So, and there's not a lot of emphasis put on them. Malcolm goes to Africa, and they give him a new name. You know what I'm saying? They call him Omowale. A Nigerian student gives him that name. You see what I'm saying? Bro. It's not talked about. They talk about his name change after Mecca. They say after he went to Mecca, he changed his name to El-Haj Malik El Shabazz. He actually changed his name to Malik El Shabazz right after sometime right around the time he got out of prison. You see what I'm saying? Malik El Shabazz was already his name during that time. He put the El-Haj on it after he went to Mecca. And so, but see, the way that the white man remixes our information, they'll have you thinking he goes to this Arabic place, he goes to Mecca, and now he has this newfound identity and outlook on life. So again, teach me about Malcolm. I'm not trying to dispel it, but I'm trying to show you Africa is what changed Malcolm. It wasn't Mecca and Mecca alone. It was Africa. And our children have to know that.
It outwardly try to keep us separate from our people over there in the motherland.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? We got a lot of people identifying as different things. I ain't going to touch on that. Yeah. But it just only makes sense to connect it back to Africa.
Yeah, see, I know what you're talking about, that memorandum. They tried to come out, they've come out and said that it isn't true, but I'll tell you this, my mama always said it's truth in all play. Even if that document isn't real, they operate accordingly, like it is. True. You know what I'm saying? They operate as if it is real.
Right.
No matter if it's real or fake. But Dr. John Henry Clark talked about the African American. We are the most educated group, and we're the most technologically educated group of Africans, and we're the most militaristic group of Africans in the world. It's a deadly combat. If I'm the white man, if I'm the Chinese, if I'm the Arab, it's dangerous to fathom the African American and the African on the continent coming back together, relating differently, relating on a cohesive measure. That's dangerous. So they are going to make sure that they deploy methods to stop that. You see what I'm saying? They want us to divest. They want to divest our energy in Africa. They don't want us looking at Africa as a place of refuge, as a place of building, as an alternative. They don't ever want us to do that. Because then what you would do is you would kind of shift the global scale. You see what I'm saying? And all of them, that'll be to their detriment. But all of it's they're doing. You see what I'm saying? So they can never have us, they can never have the African at home and the African abroad to unite. That's why you have to deport a Marcus Garvey and make him neutralize him to the point to where he's meaningless. You see what I'm saying? You have to take Malcolm out of here. You know what I mean? You have to take Patrice Lumumba out of here. You got to do what you do.
What they did him, man.
Amilcar Cabral, Thomas Sankara, these people. You see what I'm saying? You have to make sure that there's no example of global African unity anywhere. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
So Yes, that's very true. That's a good point that you brought up. They're gonna do everything in their power to make sure that doesn't happen, which is again why this is such a thankless task.
Look.
You see what I'm saying? Because I'm actually doing the opposite of that. And I'm starting with the children. You know what I mean? What Frederick Douglass say, it's easier to build strong children than it is to repair broken men.
Man, big fact.
So you gotta you have to start early. Cause see, once you our age, you gotta worry about mortgages, bills, insurance, all this kind of stuff. Your revolutionary spirit isn't as strong as teenager, middle school, college student. You know what I'm saying?
Embedded in them.
Right. And when you embed it in them early, it helps define them, helps define their outlook and logic. And so they'll go through life with that as a fundamental base. Whereas, see, I didn't come into what we call consciousness till, I'd say when I was younger because what mama did, but most of our people don't come into that until it's too late anyway. They don't have the same fight. You know what I'm saying?
True.
They're not going to challenge the white man and look to, do some of the things that are necessary for our advancement. So, yeah, I appreciate that point.
Let's touch on the children aspect again, because we know that there's a parent agenda against the children. I mean, that's an understatement, and so they're combating things like this. And that's why I tell people, we got to support our people that's putting their time, energy, and effort behind doing things to really help our people and help our children. And that's why I tell people, like, man, you can't sit up here and criticize people that's doing something to help. Even if you feel like it ain't gonna work, that's just your spirit. You have to be defeated spirit. But don't try to bring that person down because of what they're doing, because it does matter. Even with the movie Black Panther, you seen how much of an impact that had, even though it had its own agendas, but they still seen our black superheroes getting along, working together, you know what I'm saying? So, nah, bro, like, I agree, man. The books, it helps dispel the narrative, especially when they come from a child standpoint,
Dispel the narrative and inducing that self-love, man. That's one of my things, one of my favorite things about Mr. Garvey. Marcus Garvey reinstituted self-love amongst black people. He made you love and understand the value in being an African person and why that's special.
Right.
And why you are so unique in this world and why you are the moral, spiritual, biological guidepost for the planet. You know what I'm saying? Garvey did that, and Garvey understood I can't lead the people who don't love themselves. You see what I'm saying? I can't motivate and inspire people who hate themselves. You see what I'm saying? So that's one of those things. That's another thing that I hold on to and try to make sure that I incorporate in these books. You know what I'm saying? Making sure our children love one another, love themselves, so that they can love one another. You know what I mean?
For sure, bro. For sure. Big fact. Man, are there, because a lot of times how things are portrayed these days, man, social media and everything, just the presentation is like people ain't really going through nothing. They just getting successful out of nowhere.
Yeah.
What things, how do you keep yourself motivated, man? Like, do you have times where you like lacking inspiration? And what do you do in response to those times when you feel like,
yeah, I'm broke right now. But listen though, my inspiration comes from, you can't tell, what's that quote? Men are judged in times of,
we talking about MLK?
Yeah, you basically, you don't know who you are. You don't know who you are and where you really stand until you facing adversity. I think that's the quote. You should be judged during your times of adversity. So I welcome the adversity. And, we have to understand that it's not going to be easy. Matter of fact, your easy times are going to be fewer and far in between than your hard times. You see what I'm saying? But without these hard times, you can't persevere. You can never soar until you've met resistance. You see what I'm saying? So I welcome the resistance, and I still maintain my inspiration. I get down. You know what I'm saying? I have my points where I'm down, and I feel like this isn't working, or how should I combat this?
So what do you do, not to cut you off?
Yeah.
So what do you do in those times? Like, what's something? Do you have an outlet? Do you read? Do you listen to music? Like, what do you do when you have those down times where it's like, Because I think that's the problem that people have. Is like they don't know what to do in those times.
Yeah, music helps sometimes. I do need an outlet here and there. But I'm one of those people where I was raised to be appreciative, not just of myself, but of others. My ancestors came over here on ships under the worst human conditions possible. Things even right now, we couldn't fathom. For them to survive and make it through that, I don't have room to complain. I played sports, so in playing sports as well, you coached. When you coach properly and you can take coaching, you coach to persevere through adversity. So I can take myself to a place where I know, okay, listen, it ain't gonna get no worse than this. All I can do is go up. So stay consistent, keep doing the work. You know what I'm saying? These men that I write about, I don't just write about them because I feel like this could give me a check. I write about them because these men personally inspire me on the daily. These men were faced with conditions that, thank God, I haven't had to endure yet.
Bro.
You see what I'm saying? Hopefully I don't. These men sat in jail cells. They could have lost their minds. You see what I'm saying? We got brothers sitting in jail right now who have literally lost it. You see what I'm saying?
Man.
And for me to be out here in the free world, I can walk outside and smell the air and breathe air, hear the birds chirping, all that. I don't really give myself a lot of room to complain. If I am down, I let myself go through it for a second, and then I pick up. It's time to pick up and keep pushing. You see what I'm saying? And that has guided me, and I've come into points of success too. And there's opportunities that I would have missed had I sat and sulked and, let that overwhelm me. And, you know what I mean? So I always remind myself, listen, it's a time to cry, but you can't let that take over your time to work. You know what I mean? So
that's beautiful, bro.
I just try to keep a strong mind. To answer your question, that's my answer. I try and maintain a strong mind. And again, with these books and the things that I'm about, we have to put strong examples of strong men and women in front of our children.
That's true. You know what? That shows the children that, hey, man, we have people in history that have endured things and really went through it for us. You know what I'm saying? They could have went off and did something else. Like Malcolm X was a brilliant speaker. I'm sure he could have got paid millions for his speaking engagements. Even back then or something like that. Because they used to always have him on the show. But he chose to use that talent to help better our people and push our progress forward.
That's right.
So, man, well, you kind of told me like the main inspirations in your life already.
Yeah, my main inspiration, I would say, on a personal level, are my children. I'm inspired by my mother. I wouldn't be, I was blessed. I always tell people I was blessed to have 3 parents. My father, he got killed before I was born, so I was raised amongst my mother and my 2 grandparents, her parents, my grandmom and granddad, and so they inspired me. My grandparents are gone now. On my mom's side, they're gone now. But the lessons that they laid and the sacrifices that they made are sources of inspiration for me to keep going. You know what I'm saying? Kind of going back to that previous question, like I owe it to them to not give up or to succumb to, these temporary moments of sorrow. You know what I mean? So my family's my inspiration. And then just outside of that, we come from the greatest place on earth. You know what I'm saying? And even though being a black man is the most dangerous job in America, I wouldn't trade it for the world. You know what I'm saying? I could never thank God enough for making me a black man. You know what I'm saying? I love being a black man.
That's what's up, bro.
And I want our children, our boys, they should love and aspire to be black men in this world because it's the greatest thing you could be. You know what I'm saying?
Bro, big fact.
We the male versions of God. You know what I'm saying? Or the creator of the supreme consciousness, however you word it. But we are that. You know what I'm saying?
Big facts, bro.
I never stop loving that. And that keeps me inspired. You know what I'm saying? Having this melanin and deriving from carbon and my hair standing up, growing up towards the sun.
Man,
I never not love it. That's all the inspiration I need. That's all
big facts, bro. Big facts.
Real.
Hey, man, clap it up real talk. We're going to clap it up for that. Straight up, man. And for me, bro, like I'm similar to you as opposed, not as opposed. I'm similar to you when it comes to our leaders inspire me, bro. Like, man, when I first read the autobiography of Malcolm X, the feeling that I felt, because he's very technical. I'm a technical dude. I'm like, I could relate. I could relate to everything he's saying. Everything he's saying is making sense. I don't disagree with nothing he said. You know what I'm saying? When I first started reading the book and everything. And so I started diving into the interviews and everything too. But my point being is, I think it's very important for us to use our ancestors as inspiration because, man, brilliant minds. And you wouldn't know until you pick up a book. Like, we have to, you can read it. You can do a Kindle. If you want to do the ebook, that's fine. Get you a Kindle or something like that. But get the books, man. Do what you need to do to learn about your true people, because everybody, it's different for everybody. Some people, they react in a negative way. They're like, oh, I'm angry. Some people is like, okay, cool, I'm ready to switch up my life or grow, whatever. But whatever your growth looks like, we gotta pay homage, man. You gotta read. We gotta read too. It behooves us to read our history and gain the knowledge and culture from our heritage,
Yeah. I just want to say this. It made me think about this while you were talking. Going back to Malcolm, you don't have a Malcolm without Garvey. But one thing about Malcolm and what he exemplified was learning how to work together. Black people learn to work together. In this day and time, our children, our youth are taught to oppose one another. You know what I'm saying? This white man has normalized black children looking at one another as opposition. They have normalized us looking at one another as competition. You see what I'm saying? People like these two men, but especially Malcolm, because Malcolm was given a little longer in the limelight than Garvey. Another trait I wish I would have said to your earlier question. Malcolm is the embodiment of togetherness. And black boys have to be given examples, especially in the form of men, that show working together is what will get us out of this. Anything that is perpetuating you looking at another black boy as an op, or I gotta spin, do him dirty, do him bad, this and that, is for your failure. It's for your utter failure. You have to put people like Malcolm in front of. Black boys have to be taught early. Black boys have to be taught very early how to work together and put differences aside. We are men. We have testosterone. We are going to clash and bump heads, but it should never get to the point of death, when we're seeking death on one another.
So, bro, do you have any more titles that you're working on?
Yeah, right now I'm in the middle of working on two. Now these are actually nonfiction. One is going to be on one's going to be a horror that I've been working on, and then the other one is on. This is going to be a children. The horror is going to be adult, but the children's is the other one is going to be a children's book about a puppy. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
Little kids, but it's cool though. It's kind of funny.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But because they still need stuff like that as well. Like, it's outside of, stuff is fun, but still, and that's also something else that helps them realize that, hey, I can tap into my artistic ability and, put something out there. It can be lighthearted as well. You know what I'm saying? So
for sure,
those are my next two. But I'm hoping to, not hoping, but also I'm in the works of doing one on Hannibal and Queen and Zinga. So,
nice, bro. Nice.
Hopefully, those four, if we can get them out in the next year and a half.
Nice, bro. Hannibal Barcus.
Yeah, yes, sir.
That's what's up, bro. Yeah. They need to know about him. Yeah, don't nobody know. One of the greatest military.
Man, what? See, you get a visual. You get a visual element on that form of literature when you a kid. See, that'll change the way you look.
Oh yeah, man, for sure, bro. For sure, man. So it's time for us to land the plane on this conversation, bro. Man, it's been a very dope show, man. And you could tell how passionate, but not only passionate, but how knowledgeable you are, because you could just flow with it. You know what I'm saying? And it's very digestible as well. So you're the example black man that's well studied, that's disciplined, passionate, and you have a level of emotional intelligence and balance that you can put into that. So I think that's beautiful for the people to see as well, for young boys and young girls.
Yeah.
And hell, people our age too, shit.
Yeah.
You really never stop learning. But let's get into some quick joints. Who's your top 3 revolutionaries, activists in our history?
Marcus Garvey. Man, that's hard. It's hard when you only put them in 3. You only reduce to 3. I'm gonna have to say Garvey. I'm gonna have to say I'm gonna say Hannibal from that warrior perspective, like making it real like Hannibal did.
I add 2 more on there for you.
I appreciate it. Okay, so Garvey, Hannibal. I'm gonna say Malcolm. I'm gonna say I would say it's hard, man. Probably I'm gonna throw Amos Wilson in there. But this is hard, man. See, because you gotta see those. It's only because of people like Dr. Clark and Amos and them that we even know about a lot of these people. But
well, I'll say this then. What's like?
But you said revolutionary.
Who's your
Okay. I'm all right.
Your favorite.
I'm gonna lay it down. All right. I'm gonna do Garvey. I'm gonna do Dr. John Henry Clark. I'm gonna do Hannibal. I'm going to do Patrice Lumumba. Harriet Tubman. Yeah, I know. Those are my 5.
That's a good list. So you said Malcolm X, Marcus Garvey, Hannibal Barcus, Harriet Tubman,
and Patrice Lumumba.
No,
I said Dr. John Henry Clark because he was a revolutionary scholar. I got to give him that. Yeah.
I know this one always get a little tricky for people, but who is your top 5 NBA players all time? Your favorite
all time
NBA players? Yeah.
Jordan, LeBron, Sean Kemp.
Oh, okay.
Shaq. You want it's just my 5 or it gotta be in every position? It gotta be it don't have to be by position.
No, it ain't gotta be by position.
Jordan, LeBron, Sean Kemp, Shaq, and then I'm gonna go with I'm gonna go with AI.
Okay. Okay. It's a solid list, bro.
Yeah.
Okay, man. So if you had,
those are my favorite ones to watch.
It's your favorite ones to watch.
Those are the ones who like I'm sitting down and watching what they finna do. Yeah.
Nice. 3 speakers that you could listen to live, like you can go to a live audience and listen to them. Who would they be?
Garvey, Malcolm, and Amos Wilson.
Nice, man. That's a solid list there.
Speakers, yeah.
Ooh, man, where can the people find you? Where can the people find your products, your books? Let's start first with your Instagram, your social media, anything like that.
You can find me at on Facebook, Instagram, and X. You can find me at James Wrights, like writes with a pencil. James Wrights 615.
Okay, I got that up there for y'all too.
Okay, yeah, James Wrights 615. You can always go to my website, mrbookshelf.com. M like mama, R like Ruby, bookshelf.com. But I want to say shout out to you too, man, because I want your viewers to understand that it's only because of brothers like you, brothers and sisters like you, who understand the importance of creating platforms for people like me to come and speak about our works. You know what I'm saying? But not nothing, but it's hard for us without y'all. You know what I'm saying? So shout out to you for creating a platform for brothers and sisters like myself to come and showcase what we doing to the world, man, for real. So shout out to you, man.
Appreciate that, bro. As you all know, you can follow us at Coded Black. It's Coded_Black. Y'all make sure y'all tap in. We coming in strong with season 3. You know the goal is to educate, inspire, enlighten. And always remember, winners make adjustments. I'm Commotion. You got the brother James. We appreciate you all for tuning in to the Coded Black Show. Stay tuned for more. Peace.
Hey, man, you need you some merch, man, for real. That's the way you do coded, hard with the 3.
Appreciate that,
Yeah,
bro.
nah, ain't nobody doing it like that.